let's get right into it, shall we, gentlemen? Let's work. It is expected that Jared Goff and Carson Wentz are taken with the top 2 picks. After the quarterbacks, there's a lot of suspense, including what the Cowboys should do with that 4th pick. So yesterday, Mel Kiper released his final big board where he has Ohio State defensive end Joey Bosa ranked 2nd and Florida State cornerback Jalen Ramsey ranked 3rd. Skip, if both of those guys are available at 4, who should your Cowboys take?
Molly, Stephen A., what do I always say? Trust your initial instinct. What does your gut tell you right away? Even though I have been distracted of late, tempted of late by 2 guys who've sat across from me here on First Take. Ezekiel Elliott, Shaq Lawson. Impressive young men with impressive resumes. And even though I have been a little distracted and it has given me cause to pause when I've heard all the new raves about Jalen Ramsey, I'm probably going to hear more of those from you in just a moment. Even though I saw Dez tweet early in the process, take Jalen Ramsey if he's there at 4. I'm going back to my initial instinct. I told you from the start, it's Joey Bosa at number 4. And thank you, my man, Mel Kiper, for clinching it for me when I woke up this morning and I saw the final big board, and Mel had Joey Bosa ranked 2nd behind Laramie Tunsil as these are just the top players in order, regardless of position. Okay. By the way, he's got the quarterbacks at 5, Goff, and 7, Wentz. That would give me cause to pause if I were the L.A. Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles. But when Mel wrote what he wrote, lots of talent in defensive line, Mel writes, Bosa stands out as a gifted high-motor player who can rush the passer and being a devastating force against the run. He's a picture of what we talk about when we use the phrase high floor. I agree. Not only that, but he is now a need pick, thanks to my Dallas Cowboys who went south on me in DeMarcus Lawrence, who will serve 4-game suspension for I'm not sure what he
I'm so surprised. Yeah, I'm so surprised.
Yeah. I'm so surprised.
And Randy Gregory will serve.
What?
I'm not surprised about Randy Gregory.
Jerry Jones.
And obviously, Jerry, to me, swung and missed on Greg Hardy. He's still sitting out there. And please, Jerry, don't take that risk again. Don't be tempted. Don't get that desperate on me. You got to take a defensive lineman, and this one, and I'm going back before your time. Do you remember the great Randy White, Hall of Fame defensive lineman?
Sure. Back when the Cowboys were irrelevant.
Yes, when they were winning Super Bowls right and left.
That's right.
Although they did lose to your Pittsburgh Steelers a couple of times.
Yes, they did.
Randy White, highest motor player I was ever around. Devastating force, terror on the football field. I'm seeing some Joey Bosa, Randy White comparisons here. I'm going Joey Bosa. Thank you very much.
Let me tell you what's so comical about your position. You are actually telling the Dallas Cowboys to follow their gut. Please do it. Please, Dallas Cowboys, pretty please with sugar on top. Follow your gut. Go ahead. Because trust me when I tell you, if the Dallas Cowboys follow their gut, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. Because let me tell you something right now. About all they got is their guts. Bring your own guts, baby. I'm stealing from Clifton. Bring your own guts. I love it. Go ahead, Jerry Jones. Go ahead, Stephen Jones. Go ahead and follow your gut. Because the only question I got about Joey Bosa is the fact that the Cowboys are interested in him. If it wasn't for the Cowboys, I think he's a surefire pick. But because the Cowboys are high on him, makes me a bit reticent. Now, if the Cowboys are smart in my estimation, although I do understand that Joey Bosa can play, he's got a high motor, he's a playmaker, he's exceptional against the run. I get all of this. I heard what Mel Kiper had to say because I interviewed him a few days ago before he came out with his big board. Here's my reality to you.
You scooped Mel Kiper on ESPN?
No, I didn't scoop him. I said I interviewed him
I got it.
before he wrote the big board. But my point to you is this. When you talk about the Dallas Cowboys, even though Lawrence is out, because we don't know, we know that Randy Gregory couldn't stay off the weed. We understand that. Greg Hardy's a different kind of problem that is not funny at all. The reality of the situation is 2 of the 3 names that were mentioned at some point in time, Molly, Skip, aren't they going to be back? I think they're going to be back. So if they're going to be back and they're going to be on the roster, you certainly want to play them, not just because they can play, but because if they're not playing, they're going to find other things to entertain their time, and we don't want that for them. We don't wish that on them. No,
wait, are you predicting there'd be a second suspension?
No, never
because
that.
They're on the first suspension?
Never that. No,
like
never that.
Never
that. Never that. I wouldn't do something like that. My point to you is this. Joey Bosa ultimately is in a crowd. Jalen Ramsey out of Florida State, he's physical, he's athletic, he's a playmaker, he's got great instincts, and more importantly, it speaks to a very glaring weakness on the part of the Dallas Cowboys. Brandon Carr is underachieved. Orlando Scandrick is coming off not one but two ACL injuries, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So when you look at it from that perspective, they're in desperate need of somebody in their secondary. Not to mention the fact that, again, when you buffer your secondary, it ultimately assists in your pass rush, because whether it's a split second or two, you're giving you're giving them more time to get at the quarterback because of your ability to defend in the secondary. I believe Jalen Ramsey is the way to go. I believe his makeup is prototypical of what the Dallas Cowboys are looking for. I think if you get Bosa, you put him into a crowd, you're begging for trouble. Not that it'll be Bosa's fault, but the system he's going in and all the noise and the distractions and everything else there at that position could be problematic. It is clear that you need Ramsey, and it is clear that Ramsey will come in from day one without any distractions. You desperately need him in the secondary. I'm not saying that you don't need a pass rusher. I'm just saying, well, what they have already and the bodies that they have, they'll need that. They'll need Ramsey more than they need that.
Okay. Are you suggesting that if you put Joey Bosa in a crowd, you meaning of
other
low
defensive
character?
Other defensive linemen.
Is that what we're talking about?
No, I'm saying they're all going to be looking to play.
Oh.
All of them are going to be looking
to play. I'm pretty sure Joey Bosa would start and finish every game.
Well, you could say that, and I'm saying to you that the combination of the bodies that are there, what they're capable of doing, and what the expectations are for them, assuming they can stay on the field, I'm saying to you, that is not as big of a need as Jalen Ramsey is in your secondary.
Okay, I remind you, my Cowboys, though picking much later in the first round, took some guy out of UConn, I forget his name, like Byron Jones, you know?
He set some records at the Combine.
He set some records at the Combine. He didn't set any on the field yet. He didn't set it on fire just yet, but he will. I saw flashes last year.
Only Cowboy.
So my point to you, Mr. Smith, is it is a need pick to go cornerback, although I think Jalen Ramsey is going to project as a safety at some point in his career.
He's versatile.
Extremely physical, but I'm going to ask you the hardest question of all. Are we talking about a neon Deion Sanders here? Because they both went to Florida State, obviously, and there are some comparisons out there.
I want to reserve comment on that until I speak to my man Prime Time. I'm going to defer to him.
You should do that.
Well, I mean, that's my man. We talk all the time, but we didn't speak about this recently.
Deion, right now.
We didn't speak about this recently. Yeah, Prime, tweet us. Let us know how you feel. All I'm saying to you is that I haven't spoken to him about Jalen Ramsey. I will defer to Prime Time to tell me whether or not somebody is Prime Time capable.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Well,
that's called respect for greatness, which you don't seem to have.
I'm about to have a whole lot of respect for a whole lot of greatness.
Okay.
I had the pleasure, the honor of covering one Deion Sanders when he was a Dallas Cowboy for 1 year, one Super Bowl year. The most extraordinary player I have ever covered. I've told you this before. He is clearly, to me, I believe he's the greatest athlete ever in sports. I know you can go Bo Jackson and blah, blah, all this. But again, Deion was an all-state high school basketball player in Florida. We know he was a starting baseball player for the Yankees and Braves, center fielder, and obviously the greatest cornerback ever. It is laughable to me to put Jalen Ramsey in that category. Laughable. And it's no insult to Jalen Ramsey, but Jalen Ramsey ran 4.45 in the 40. 4.45. Deion ran 4.27. And they tell that classic story about he didn't really want to run at the Combine. He had on his tracksuit, you know, and he just said, oh, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. And he just took his tracksuit off, didn't even stretch.
Typical Prime.
4.27.
That's Prime.
Okay,
that's Prime. That's who he is.
That's
who he is.
Did.
That's
okay,
who he is.
I look back at his stats at Florida State. Now, he stayed all 4 years, but he had only 1 interception as a freshman. Then he went 4, 4, and 5 interceptions as a senior, and 3 of those went all the way back for a touchdown. Nobody could take it to the house the way Prime Time could take it back to the house when he got his hands on the football.
That's right.
Jalen Ramsey in his career, he had a total of 3 interceptions over 3 years. That's none last year, his junior year at Florida State. He went 1 as a freshman, 2 as a sophomore, and the knock on him is he just doesn't have great ball skills or anticipation. I'm not saying he's not going to be an elite player at whichever position he winds up at, corner or safety, because he is extremely physical, and the story Jerry told yesterday was he actually got kicked out of a practice before his sophomore year. It was a media fan practice in August ahead of the season because he was too physical. He was breaking the practice rules and knocking people down he was not supposed to knock down, including Jameis Winston. And when he knocked Jameis Winston down, who probably had on a red Target jersey in that practice, again, a preseason practice, that's when Jimbo said, you are out for today, and sort of showed him up in front of the media and fans. Okay, I like it. I like the physicality. But is he Neon Dion? No, he's not. So again, I'm not saying he's a bust, but I'm not taking him at...
But let's be clear. Once again, you lack perspective. There is no one that is primetime Deion Sanders.
Okay, but
there's only one.
Comparisons.
I mean, primetime is so primetime, he ain't allowed to work in the daytime unless he's on first take. That's it. Okay, that's how prime time is, okay? Yeah. I mean, listen, the man showed up at first take. When have you ever seen him on TV in the daytime other than that? You don't really see him. It's usually prime time hours because he's prime time. You got to think about it. I'm trying to help you out here.
Yeah,
he showed up here on first take for us and killed it for an hour. That's how prime time he is. But what I'm saying to you is there's only one. When I look at a guy like Jalen Ramsey, I'm thinking about his pass. I'm thinking about the 52 tackles. I'm thinking about the 9 passes defended, which led Florida State. I'm thinking about the fact that the dude's a hitman, and you've got people that don't want to run in his direction, don't want to throw in his direction, because he's the kind of dude that when receivers are running routes, they're looking for where he's at before they're even looking for the ball. If you're the Dallas Cowboys, you kind of want that. You kind of need that. Now, the Dallas Cowboys weren't completely atrocious. They were 5th against the pass last year, and we had to sit 22 against the run. So if you want to make an argument in favor of Bosa, it would be that. But to me, it's not just about the talent. It's about a mystique America's team sorely lacks. They don't have anybody on defense that you want to look at. I mean, Greg Hardy was menacing for the wrong reasons, okay? They don't have anybody.
Menacing to his own team.
They don't have anybody that's menacing for the right reasons. And I think Jalen Ramsey can kind of change that.
You don't think Joey Bosa isn't menacing? My God, he's a terror.
I'm not imagining that on the next level. I know he was at Ohio State. I'm not taking anything away from what I saw him do for the Buckeyes. I'm not taking anything away from the fact that he deserves to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft, and he is a talent. But when I think about talent, Skip, you know from the time I saw him go up against Alabama, I've been a Kimdichie fan. I mean, obviously his off-the-field stuff is the problem. But from a talent
Mel
perspective...
and Todd have him going in the second round.
Because of that. Because from a talent perspective, I would have considered him over Bosa.
Okay, but low motor versus high motor.
That's fair, because Mel said the same thing. In other words, sometimes he doesn't want to play. But again, and this is a bad example to support Kimdichie, but I have to throw it out there. Jadeveon Clowney, entering the last year, knowing he's going to the NFL, don't want to risk injury.
But he was beat up. He had ankle issues.
I'm just saying, you have these issues that people look at. And in today's day, particularly with the NFL and the way that they are, look at this kid out of Notre Dame and what's happening to him. To get hurt in the Fiesta Bowl, I mean, could you imagine Jalen Smith? I mean, come on. I'm just saying, you think about stuff like that when you're a college player in this day and age.
That's why they should be paid. You know, he should have been making a lot of money along the way.
You're right. You're right.
That part's a whole other story.
Yeah.
All right, so we will find out, Skip, 8 Eastern tomorrow on ESPN. The draft goes down. But let's talk about the quarterbacks. All the buzz with who is going to go #1, just like when it happened in 2005 when the Niners were deciding between Alex Smith and Aaron Rodgers. Now, former Niners coach Mike Nolan said the decision was made to go with the safe pick in quarterback Alex Smith over, quote, cocky and arrogant Aaron Rodgers with the #1 overall pick in the 2005 NFL draft. Stephen A., big mistake here to take Smith over Rodgers, your boy?
Where's Mike Nolan working? Where's he working? Answer the question. Answer the question, Skip. Where is Mike Nolan working at right now?
Next question.
Where is he working at right now? Is he working someplace? Where is Mike Nolan?
Well, I heard from him yesterday.
I rest my case.
Yeah,
we heard from him.
I know he's still alive.
We know he's still alive. We just don't know if he's employed.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Okay, look, I like Alex Smith. I've chided him for being a game manager in the past, but the man doesn't turn the ball over for the most part. He's a talent. He can run a football team. He doesn't knock your socks off. He's above average. Okay, and the Kansas City Chiefs have gotten to the playoffs, and I think Andy Reid, who I love, has done a wonderful job with them, okay? But the reality is there's only one boy. That's a bad man. Yeah, we know who that is. And it ain't Brick from General Hospital, like my man Sonny Corinthos said. He said, you're a bad man. You said, he said about me, and I appreciate it. But the flip side is that it's really about Aaron Rodgers. That is the bad man. Aaron Rodgers is the greatest talent at the quarterback position my eyes have ever seen. And I'm here to tell you something right now. These scouts, and I'm being serious here, taking all of this aside, because I'm not going to chide Mike Nolan. Mistakes happen. Nobody's perfect. I get all of that. But Skip, seriously, as somebody who's covered the NFL for over 30 years, for crying out loud, help me out here. Help me understand this. Doesn't it annoy you when you hear these talent evaluators and it's like they're looking for excuses not to pick somebody? Aaron Rodgers, you got off-the-field issues, that would be different. You got physical ailments, that would be different. He's cocky, arrogant. That's why.
Don't you want that?
That's why. You're damn right you want that from the quarterback position. You want a guy that's going up in it, please, I got this. Give me the football. Move out the way. I know what I'm doing. You want the quarterback to have that mentality. You want him to be unflappable. You want him to have intestinal fortitude. You don't want him being somebody looking like Jay Cutler, just a tad bit removed from from depression or crying out loud. Not to knock those out there who's got depression, but I keep saying it. The only time I've ever seen Jay Cutler smile was when he was signing his new contract. That's it. Outside of that, he's a perpetual piece of depression. That's how he looks. And that's what it is.
Was this a Jay Cutler question? How did he get in there?
I'm saying to you,
completely gratuitous cheap shot.
It was. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is this. When you talk about Aaron Rodgers, I see a dude that was on the radio when he's telling everybody R-E-L-A-X, relax. I see Joe Cool. I see that demeanor. I see that swag. I see it in Tom Brady, too, of course, no doubt. But I see it in Aaron Rodgers. I see it in Drew Brees to some degree, of course. But I see it in Aaron Rodgers. And I'm like this. You watching Aaron Rodgers come out of college and Alex Smith, and you talking about Alex Smith had all the necessary credentials, and Aaron Rodgers, it basically came down to he was arrogant? Really? That just drives me crazy. You know, I get to the point sometimes, Skips, where I don't think these teams should even be allowed to interview dudes. You should watch the tape and do an investigation into their history and leave it at that, because the nonsense that they come up with not to pick certain people is just so egregious to me, it's annoying. Arrogance? That's why.
That's your not doing all right.
You picked Alex Smith. You're the San Francisco 49ers. You picked Alex Smith instead of Aaron Rodgers because he was too arrogant. You got to be kidding me. I mean, come on, man. Please.
By the way, I now have a new nickname for my man Rodgers. He's Arrogant Rodgers, right? Arrogant. Oh, I've told you. Listen, and again, no knock on him. He's still arrogant. He's still cocky.
And what's wrong with it?
Okay.
I'm just tell me what's wrong with it. Tell me what's wrong with the arrogance.
You got to believe in yourself
There's
first.
nothing wrong with it. Occasionally, it's a little much. And I must say, he has not been able to back up his arrogance over the last couple of years, because the bad man has often, too often by his standards, just been bad, especially last year. You know it, and I know it, but I'm going to move on.
Last year was not a good year.
Thank you.
According to his standards.
Yes, by his standards. Okay.
Yes.
Now, what happened? They also, by the way, Scott McLuhan, who's now the GM in Washington, was also part of this decision that Mike Nolan made. What have I told you? Let's look back at what they said. Number one, arrogant. What have I told you? And it mostly applies to me and all my time covering the National Football League, which goes way back. This mostly applies to white coaches with white quarterbacks pre-draft. They fall in love with the kid. Like he's such a coachable kid. Remember, Mike Nolan was the son of Dick Nolan, a guy I covered who was a former Cowboy coach. He goes way back before your time, former New Orleans head coach. He's old school. And I'm sure he looked in Alex Smith's eyes and said, what a great kid this is. Aaron Rodgers, God, he kind of, he put me off a little bit. Come on, is he really that full of himself? Is he really that great? Because he wasn't that great at Cal. His mechanics were a disaster at Cal. And Mike Nolan said yesterday, we knew it was going to be a big project to rebuild his mechanics.
So they didn't want to work.
Okay.
So they didn't want to work.
All right. But remember, they needed to throw somebody into the fire immediately because that team in San Francisco was 2-14. Ted Thompson had just taken over in Green Bay. They got Aaron Rodgers at 24. You know why they got him at 24? Because their quarterback was Brett Favre. And so they had a good team already. And what happened in Green Bay? Aaron Rodgers got to go sit for not 1 year, not 2 years, 3 years. He got to sit. And you said,
but we all know that was about Brett Favre.
Okay, but it was also
Aaron Rodgers was worried. It was ready.
Also about
3 years.
Mike McCarthy and company, when he took over, they had to rebuild Aaron's throwing motion. And I agree with you. It is beautiful to watch, but they did.
Okay.
And by the time he was finally ready, it was 3 years in, and Brett Favre was at the end. So it was right on schedule.
Now, you can make an argument that, first of all, I will not dispute that Aaron Rodgers sitting down the first year. That was a given. I get that. I understand that. And you do make a compelling argument that San Francisco had to get somebody to insert in there.
They threw him into the fire.
At that particular moment. That's fair. But the flip side to it, Skip, is that Mike McCarthy and those guys, whatever work they do, either they're magicians or Aaron Rodgers had a lot of ability and was able to adjust. Because by year 2, he was ready to go because they were talking about Brett Favre leaving then. But obviously, you couldn't push Brett Favre out the door. So don't give me year 2 and 3 that Aaron Rodgers sat down when he was ready to go, but Brett Favre didn't want to leave. Okay? Until he was pushed out.
But was Aaron really ready when he finally got a shot?
Listen,
yes, he was.
Let me tell you something. He was ready when he got a shot, and there's no doubt about that, and I understand that. His first year, when he started 16 games, Skip, he completed 63.6%. I got a computer. You got your notes. I got a computer.
I don't have a computer.
Well, I'm helping you.
I'm at a huge disadvantage here.
Oh, you got notes. Stop it.
I'm not knocking you for not knowing.
I do have a computer.
Actually, that is a lie because you write down everything, so stop it. But here's the point. Okay, thank you very much. Aaron Rodgers, first year, started all 16 games. He threw for 4,038 yards.
Oh, he was good.
28 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. First year, okay?
He wasn't so good.
Won a Super Bowl, okay? Last year was a bad year. Bad year.
Thank you.
We agree. For Aaron Rodgers. Let me tell you what a bad year for Aaron Rodgers is. Please allow me to do this. Started all 16 games. Finished 10-6. I mean, he only completed 60.7% of his passes. I mean, just terrible. Just terrible. Terrible. Aaron Rodgers, oh, my God. Okay? 3,821 yards. That's not Aaron Rodgers. 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. A quarterback rated of 92, a QB of 64. That is a bad year for Aaron Rodgers. At some point in time, when is Skip Bayless? Because, you've been covering the NFL for so long. You are the leader of the pack. When are you going to step up? When are you going to hold yourself and other pundits accountable, Skip Bayless, for sitting up not the pundits accountable, but when are you and other pundits going to hold NFL officials accountable? If you can't foresee certain things, why do you have your job? You're not playing. Your job is to see some of this stuff. And I understand taking Alex Smith first under your premise. My point is, we're talking about the quarterback position. We're talking about a guy, and Aaron Rodgers has been at the helm the last 8 or 9 years, that could literally go 8 or 9 years more.
I got it.
Why?
Okay,
Can't they see that?
By the way, can I throw in one last stat out of the back of my head? Probably wrong.
That you wrote down somewhere. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, this is recall.
It's in the noggin.
I got a lot of recall, too. Go ahead.
Since the Packers and Aaron Rodgers won their only Super Bowl a decade ago, right? A decade ago? Yeah. What is he now? 2-4 in the postseason? I forget. I'm hazy on the stat. But he hasn't been very good in the playoffs since then. And I know for a fact he's lost a couple of home games in the playoffs, which is not a pretty sight for somebody you call the greatest quarterback you've ever seen throwing the football. Now, back to Alex Smith. Sometimes it's right place, right time. For Aaron Rodgers, wrong place, wrong time for an Alex Smith. Are you saying Alex Smith is a bust? I think he gets a bad rap because he is not Jamarcus Russell, right?
I don't believe
he's not.
He's certainly not
Jamarcus Russell.
And Alex Smith is a really nice game-managing quarterback.
He is. So he gets thrown into the fire for a team that goes 4-12 the first year, and he starts 7 games. Then they go 7-9, 5-11, 7-9, 8-8, 6-10, and then Harbaugh comes in, a real quarterback coach, and they go 13-3 with Alex Smith. So he's capable of managing the game at that high of a level.
Yeah, but are you winning because of him or in spite of him? Or
No,
he's just neither. You know what you're doing? He's along for the ride. Green Bay wins because of Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, but there are times under Andy Reid, Andy Reid that they have won because of Alex Smith. He's been really good. He is 30-16 as a starter.
And I'm not knocking that, but the problem is on too many occasions when we watch Alex Smith, when you need plays to be made, when you need someone to lead, when you are trailing and you're operating behind the 8 ball and you need somebody to step up and be like, I'm going to get it done. Someone that strikes fear. He's not that guy. When I think about an Aaron Rodgers, when I think about Tom Brady or Drew Brees, you're going like this.
Right.
Man, just keep the ball away from them. Don't let them get the ball back. You don't give a damn if Alex Smith gets the ball. You ain't worried about him the way you worry about other guys.
Do you remember the playoff game against Andrew Luck, your man, at Indy? Remember that?
Yes.
When they lost 45-44, and Alex Smith lit them up for 44 points.
When they had that huge lead and Indianapolis came back.
They collapsed, and that's more the defense than Alex Smith.
The defense collapsed in terms of what they gave up to Andrew Luck. But how come the offense couldn't engage in ball control?
They lost everybody. They lost their receivers. I think they lost 2 running backs.
Well, you always commenting about how Tom Brady don't have anything, but somehow, some way, he makes stuff happen.
We're talking about the greatest quarterback.
Well, I'm telling you, you never mentioned the word great when it comes to Alex Smith. Period.
Well, I just say he's not a bust. You know, people write him off like, okay,
he's not a bust.
But it wasn't.
He's average.
It was a closer call than people give this credit for, because he has lived up for a long period of time to being at least a top, I'm going to say a top 15 quarterback. Is that fair? Well, I'm serious.
How many teams in the league?
All right, I'll go top 10. I'll say he's the 10th best quarterback.
No. Stick with your original. Go with your gut. Go with your gut. The top 15.
Joey Bosa.
That's my gut. That's what you said. Top 15 in a 30-team league. I'm so touched. I'm so touched. Top 15 in the top 30 league. Okay.
All right. You know whose playoff hopes didn't live up for expectations?
Arrogant Rodgers, right?
Oh, I was going to the Clippers.
Yeah, sorry.
Glad you got that one in real quick. And Blake Griffin era in L.A.?
That's a very difficult question to answer, because if they had just lost, I would say definitively yes. Not only should it be, it will be, because I have been told on numerous occasions that Chris Paul would want out of L.A., primarily to go to Cleveland and play with LeBron if indeed they were to lose and fail to get deep into the playoffs or, obviously legitimately contend for a title. In the case of Blake Griffin, you're constantly going to hear his name because when healthy, he's box office because he's younger and he's talented. Both of them have a contract through next year before they have early opt-outs in their contract, early termination opt-outs. So as a result of that, if you're Doc Rivers and you're the Los Angeles Clippers, you've got to ask yourself, we've tried this experiment for years. You can take one of 2 scenarios. One, you can sit there and say, we've tried, it hasn't worked, we need to go in a different direction because these guys are not getting any younger. Let's move while they still have significant value and we can get equitable compensation in return for their services. Or you could sit up there and say, we got hurt. We had an opportunity to win it this year. It was messed up. Now we need to make a return and we need to come back and make amends for what transpired here. These 2 guys going down on the same day. I don't know if this has happened in history. I'm talking about 2 guys of this significant value. There have been times when 1 guy has been hurt or even 2 guys have been hurt. But on the same day and to both be out, I mean, everybody talking about the Clipper curse or whatever, call it whatever you want. It's a devastating blow. And knowing Doc Rivers, the ultimate motivator, he's not going to leave his team any room for excuses. He's going to push them. You still have a series to win against Portland, et cetera, et cetera. But you got to know, this is just a devastating blow because it's bad enough to lose 1 of them. But to lose 2 of them is a death knell. I agree with you. They're probably not going to win this series. Because remember, I thought Blake Griffin somehow just tweaked something and he was going to play. But now that both of them are out, we're going to see 2 people. We're going to keep our eyes on Austin Rivers. And we're going to keep our eyes on DeAndre Jordan. You know that dude that just signed for $80 million in the offseason that was supposed to go to Dallas but ended up staying? And initially, the reason why he entertained going to Dallas is because Dallas was going to make him more of a primary offensive option, and he was going to have a chance to showcase his skills. Well, he's got he's in a best 2 or 3 series right now in the first round against Portland, and he could step his game up, and we'll see what happens. But in the end, to answer the question directly, I would say to you that it may not be over, but it should be. I don't think Chris Paul is getting any younger. Me personally, I think that Kyrie Irving, even though he's cool in Cleveland, and he and LeBron are cool, and they're doing their thing, and right now they're on a collision course to get to the NBA Finals, likely against Golden State or San Antonio. The reality is that Kyrie may be looking to be moved this summer. You're hearing the New York Knicks. I wouldn't mind seeing him in L.A. with the Clippers either. And if you're Chris Paul and you can get with your brother from another mother in LeBron James, both of y'all are godparents to each other's children. I mean, you talk about a floor general that LeBron James would respect profoundly, it would be Chris Paul. If I'm Chris Paul, that's what I'm trying to make happen.
And that's why, if I were Chris Paul, I would get the heck out of Staples Center. And I'll tell you why. You mentioned it, the Clipper curse. I don't usually believe in curses, but I believe in this curse. And you know why I believe in it? Because they all believe in it. That fandom, and you know that fandom, they believe in it. This is Cubs-like. The Clippers are the Cubs of the NBA. This entire fandom, for decade upon decade, has been taught to expect the worst. Am I right? Yes. And our man Bill Plaschke of the LA Times wrote about it today, and he concludes the Clipper curse lives. He calls this the most haunted team in the NBA, and I cannot argue.
He came on my show yesterday.
Did he?
Yes, he did, and said exactly
that.
Said
the same thing? Well, he's probably in the middle of writing the column at that moment.
That's right.
And he refers to the ghostly shadows of Donald Sterling, remember that whole fiasco, Danny Manning, Michael Olowokandi, Benoit Benjamin, and for the 3rd consecutive postseason, the Clippers have gone from legitimate title contender to, according to Bill, pitiable puddles in a matter of hours. And to your point, they didn't just lose their best player, they lost their 2 best players in the matter of minutes of that 3rd quarter. On the tail of the Golden State Warriors appearing maybe to lose Steph Curry for a long period of time. So they went from the euphoria of, wait a second, with Chris Paul healthy, Blake Griffin healthy, we got this.
In 24 hours.
Yeah, we'll finish off the Rockets quickly, and then, I'm sorry, finish off Portland. And then they'll finish off, obviously, the Rockets, and then we'll go get them because Steph probably will not be able to play. Now we think Steph might be able to play in the series. We're not sure about that. The reports were wildly optimistic suddenly out of Golden State, and here it goes from we are a contender to we got no shot against Portland. Wow, that's a curse to me, and it's gone on for so long that, listen, I worked in Chicago, covered the Cubs for 3 years. Those people go to Wrigley Field expecting the worst. What can go wrong will go wrong, and trust me on this. As great a start as the Chicago Cubs are off to, and they are clearly, to my eyes, the best team. They're worried. And you know what? The worry can start to spill over psychologically onto the field because it starts to creep into the media. The players are just human. They listen to the talk radio shows. They listen to TV. All of a sudden, they're hearing, uh-oh, it's coming. You know it's coming. Yeah, and all of a sudden, it creeps in and gets a hold of your psyche. That's a curse because I thought Doc Rivers, for all of his strength and impact that he can have on a basketball team, I thought he would shatter the curse. Chris Paul, the most dominant leader in the NBA, I thought he could shatter the curse. And I think they're all waking up today saying, we can't beat the curse. Whatever it is, we're just doomed. We're hexed.
I would love to tell you that's just nonsense, but I can't. Because I've never seen anything like that.
I haven't either.
And you remember, last year they got a 19-point lead. In Game 6, they are in the process of blowing the Houston Rockets out of the building. And all of a sudden, the Rockets explode with James Harden on the bench.
On the bench.
Okay?
Yeah.
But that was a basketball collapse. Then now
remember,
this injury.
Chris couldn't play the first 3 games of that series, but it didn't seem to matter because they went up 2-1.
That's right.
So they're up 2-1 at home when Chris comes back.
That's right.
And they still collapse.
That's right.
Okay.
So, I mean, I can't dispute it.
Couldn't you argue this could buy them another year? Because if they were full speed and didn't get the job done?
The person that buys another year to is Doc Rivers, but not literally. Doc Rivers is a great coach. He's not going anywhere. But Doc Rivers, the GM, that's who everybody had questions about. Because the injuries have taken place, the kind of shrapnel of criticism that's going to get aimed in his direction is going to dissipate dramatically. And as a result, that's not going to be a concern for him any longer. Though, you know, Doc Rivers doesn't care. Trust me, he ain't thinking about that. But I'm just saying that's where the break, the reprieve comes into play. But it doesn't come into play for the franchise because the franchise, this is just the latest in a catastrophic history that's even got a comedian like Billy Crystal sad.
It does.
Because he's a hardcore, diehard Clippers fan.
Bottom line, question. And once upon a time, I covered the Lakers for the LA Times. This is pre-Clippers. They were still, I believe, in San Diego at that point. But you tell me, is it not even as bad as the Lakers have been this year? Is it not still a Lakers town?
Without question.
Are the Clippers not still viewed as these sort of stepchildren of Staples?
And the Yankees and the Mets.
Absolutely correct. And I've often said, it's actually worse than that.
Yeah.
And I've often said this. The Los Angeles Clippers, in order for them to overcome anything, even a scintilla of the Lakers' momentum and significance in that town, they got to win a championship.
Yeah.
Because even when they are playoff contenders and the Lakers flat out stink, fans are able to think about the purple and gold, which is more appealing than the color of their uniforms. The Staples Center actually looks different for a Lakers. I'm telling you, it's the same arena, Skip. And when the Clippers play, when the Lakers play, it's star-studded. The stars come out. When the Clippers play, the Staples Center literally looks like a high school gymnasium compared to the Staples Center, the lighting and all of that other stuff, okay? Literally, it looks different. Then when you combine that with the fact that there are 16 championship banners for the Lakers and 0 for the Clippers, it just doesn't cut them. But they haven't even been out of the second round. And so when you look at it from that perspective, and to have Chris Paul, and to have Blake Griffin, and to have Lob City in full effect with DeAndre Jordan, and still never even get to a conference finals because Donald Sterling ruins one season. They collapse against Houston the next.
Yep.
This time it's injuries. You're just looking at it and you're saying, damn. It's bad.
This is why I want to see Chris Paul and LeBron play together at least for a couple of years.
Yes.
End of careers.
Once upon a time, Chris Paul could give 2 cents about what anybody said. He absolutely positively was in love with Los Angeles, the weather, the golf courses, and all of that other stuff. He don't care about that no more. What he cares about now is capturing the championship. That's why I felt so bad for him. As many times as we spoke this season, whether it's him, his family, his wonderful dad and mom, who I know, his brother CJ's a really great guy, you know, a lot of friends, everybody that knows him, everybody that knows Chris Paul knows how much he is starving for a championship. Yep. And for him to suffer like this, I feel so terrible for him. I really do.
We all do. And the chip could outweigh the sunshine. Maybe he'll bring a championship
The chip
to the
does
land
outweigh the sunshine
LeBron.
to him right now.
We'll see.
He can go live there in the offseason.
Yep. All right, Skip isn't the only one who thinks Tom Brady was framed. Coming up, Tom Brady apparently isn't guilty in the eyes of everyone. Drew Brees has now come to his defense. So it's you and Drew, Skip. We'll tell you what he said after the break. Another day, another story about Sam Bradford not being happy in Philadelphia. His agent, Tom Condon, told our Sal Palantonio that the quarterback is upset that the Eagles didn't tell him of their plan to draft a quarterback high in the first round and that Bradford wants to be traded. Skip Bayless.
Yes, ma'am.
Whose side are you on?
I'm on Sam Bradford's side here. I think they done him wrong, Stephen A. I think there was a little bit of bait and switch going on here. As you know, even as a University of Oklahoma longtime fan, I'm not the biggest Sam Bradford fan. I said from day one, pre-draft, that the St. Louis Rams were making a huge mistake, drafting him #1 overall as a former Heisman Trophy winner and giving him, back in the day before there was the quarterback salary system, $50 million guaranteed dollars that Sam, as I sometimes call him, Badford, that he got at that point. And he was often Sam Badford. But I'll tell you this, at the end of the year last year, so smoke cleared for the Eagles. He got on a little bit of a late season roll. He had 3 straight games of 300 plus, 28 years of age, not getting any younger. and he thought that the Eagles wanted to go forward with him as the quarterback for the next at least couple of years. They go out and sign Chase Daniel to be the backup. He's the one, Chase is the two, and here we go. And then what happened? Did Carson Wentz fall in the draft and fall into Philly's lap at whatever, weren't they 8 or whatever? Yeah. Nope, that didn't happen. Philly just bet the ranch, took a huge gamble to go all the way up to 2 to, we presume, get Carson Wentz. It's a slap in Sam Bradford's face. I would be not miffed. I would be outraged by it. And again, he does have this option. He could offer to give back the $11 million that they've already given him for next year. He could sort of buy his way out of Philadelphia. I don't know what his trade market would be, but I do not blame him for wanting a fresher start somewhere else where he would get a better shot at being the guy.
You got to be kidding me. I mean, this is an absolute joke. Who the hell is Sam Bradford? I'm sorry to use the H word so frequently this morning, but people are getting on my nerves. This makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Who is Sam Bradford? Let me tell you something, Skip Bayless. I understand this is the NFL, but you are Sam Bradford. You don't have a winning record as a quarterback. You've never guided a team to a playoff appearance. You've been in the league for 5 years. You got a 2-year, $36 million deal. Go and compete for the daggone job. I was embarrassed by what Tom Condon said. Let's listen to these quotes. Let me read this quote to you from Tom Condon. Very powerful, influential agent.
I'd say one of the best.
One of the best, no question about it. Listen to this quote. And Tom Condon, listen, I'm not going to call a quote idiotic because I think there's a method to this madness, and I respect the hell out of Tom Condon. But let me say this. Let's read this quote. When you're on a 2-year contract and the second pick in the draft is behind you, you better really play well because you're really going to hear it from the fans if you don't.
That is true, though.
Sam is a competitor and he wants to go someplace and know that he's the man. He doesn't just want to be there holding a place card. Excuse me, you have to compete. Oh, my God. You are being paid $36 million. You have to compete. I am so shocked. This man who's collected $77 million in his career and has thrown 77 touchdowns. That's $1 million a touchdown. This dude thinks he's entitled to long-term security. This is the problem with America. This is the problem. This man, what has he done to earn any kind of security whatsoever? You lucky you got a damn starting job. Who are you? Who do you think you are? Sam Bradford needs to shut the hell up, go out there and play, show that you're worthy of being a starting quarterback, then come talk to me. Let me tell you what I think Tom Condon is doing here. I think Tom Condon knows that these quotes are pathetically idiotic, and he's saying it because he wants to rile up the city of Philadelphia, so they will demand that Sam Bradford gets out of town immediately. That's his strategy, because he's too smart to make an idiotic quote like this and mean it. He's just too smart. Think about this. When you're on a 2-year contract and the second pick of the draft is behind you, you better really play well. Duh! What do you mean you better really play well? That's right, you better really play well. That's your job. That is your job. And this man, the former #1 overall pick, hasn't lived up to expectations at all. I don't want to hear this. I don't care what the man has to say. Listen, Sam Bradford, I'm going to say it again. I apologize along the way. Don't tell me that this man... This is mine.
He's actually got 4 beverages.
Wait.
Staying hydrated.
What is it? What are you drinking?
That's a protein drink.
This is a protein drink?
Wait,
it says... It's spiced. I thought it said spiked.
Listen, here's what I do.
So healthy.
I get my green drink.
Well, what's in the green drink?
One of my
He asked for kale today.
One of my dear friends is a best-selling author named J.J. Smith. Tell the 10-day green smoothie
Tell her
drink.
to send it
She
my
sat
way.
up there. She got me hooked on these, and then I get my protein drink. Okay, and then I get the coconut water, but with no preservatives. So I do all of that, and then the tea is just my enjoyment.
So there's no risk here of a 4-game suspension, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
And the
Not
tea
at all.
is very
Not at all.
particular with
But
wants
back
to
to
serve
Sam Bradford. I mean, this is disgraceful, Skip. How can you even defend it?
I'm defending it.
It's ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous.
It is.
This is business, cold-blooded NFL
so what's the problem?
business.
So
Here's
what's the problem?
How many years did you cover the Eagles while you were a columnist in Philadelphia? How many years?
Last 7 years.
Last 7 years. You were there for 16 years
Yes,
at that newspaper,
yes,
right?
Sir.
Nobody knows the Eagles fans much better than Stephen A. Smith. Are they as demanding as any fandom? Yes, they are.
Rightfully so.
Okay.
Rightfully so. It's a great sports town.
When they are so starved for a winner and their new Eagles management rises all the way up to the #2 pick and takes some kid who's going to be the savior out of North Dakota State, the handwriting is all over the locker room wall for Sam Bradford because he can't win this game. This game is rigged against Sam Bradford.
He's there for a year or two.
Oh, please.
He's there for a year or two. He knew that. He didn't sign. He did not sign a 5-year deal, Skip. He signed a 2-year deal. He was looking to use the year or two to market himself for a better payday, but that potentially somewhere else. So the Eagles look ahead and make sure they ensure this.
Let's just do this.
Security.
Would you rather be
problem?
Would you rather be next year the starting quarterback for the Eagles or the Jets? Let's say he became the Jets starting quarterback, no Ryan Fitzpatrick. Would you rather be that guy or that guy?
No.
Do you want Carson Wentz looking over your shoulder or Geno Smith?
Without question, he would rather be. I'm saying to you, so what? Who cares what he wants? Produce first and then you'll get what you want. That's my argument. Go out there and produce enough for somebody else to want you if the Eagles decide they don't. You were willing to take the money under that premise.
Well, I'm saying,
right. So
you can put your money where your mouth is and pay it back. You have the right. You can say, I'll give you your 11 back.
No. I didn't entertain that if you're going to get the money back and just go out there and be a free agent. But wait a minute. I'll consider it, but I have the right. I have the right to decide whether or not I want you to do that. When I gave you the $36 million, I didn't guarantee you under no circumstances you wouldn't have to compete for the job.
But there was a spirit of the agreement.
Oh, give me a spirit nonsense. This is the National Football League. You got to go out there and play.
Oh, then you're going to go up and get the second quarterback in the draft.
If you stink up the joint in week 1, you might have to go.
When he signed the dotted line, do you think he thought he was going to be the starting quarterback?
Hold on.
Unopposed.
Why ain't you thinking about it now? If you're good enough, if you're talented enough, what you worried about some dude out of North Dakota State for? You don't deserve the daggone job if you worried about that.
But they got to give the job to the kid.
Why they have to?
Well, you know why.
Not if Sam Bradford shows up and performs. Stop it. What do you want to give him a massage too? What do you want to do? What do you want to do?
They'll give North Dakota State a massage. That's what they'll give.
Stop it.
Yeah, why?
Sam, you're going to sit up here on national television and argue on behalf of Sam Bradford.
Did you spike that with Diet Dew?
I didn't do anything.
Diet Dew.
I didn't do anything.
Give myself a better chance.
Green.
Hydrate over here. This is the business we have chosen. But we want to tell you about a scheduling change. First Take will not be in Chicago for the NFL draft, but we will still cover the draft, all the hot topics here in studio. And to the fans out there in Chi-Town, we hope to see you during a future roadshow. We will be back. It is expected that Jared Goff and Carson Wentz are taken with the top 2 picks. After the quarterbacks, there is a lot of suspense. Yesterday, Mel Kiper released his big board where he has Mississippi offensive tackle Laremy Tunsil as his best player, Ohio State defensive end Joey Bosa ranked 2nd, and Florida State cornerback Jalen Ramsey ranked 3rd. For this, we welcome in Mark May. Good to see you, Mark.
Great to be here. By the way, may I qualify this man quickly with a quick story?
Sure.
2 years ago, I saw this man in the gym one morning, and he was raving about one Aaron Donald. Do you remember this? Yep. And I was like, really? I thought it was, maybe. He falls to 13th in the draft, goes to St. Louis. He's Defensive Rookie of the Year, 2 Pro Bowls, and 1 first-team All-Pro. Way to go. You were all over it.
Terrific motor. Everybody was worried about his height, but I just saw the production there. The film doesn't lie.
Well, part of the reason I kind of looked like I knew a little bit about what I was talking about on Sunday mornings because I used to run into this man right here. Used to school me all the time. I appreciate you.
Thanks. I brought out both rings for First Take since you guys finally got me on First Take.
We can't compete with that.
That's right.
Mark May, the real deal. All right, so break it down for us. We know about 1 and 2. What about the rest of them? 3, 4, and 5.
Well, number 3 is going to be Jalen Ramsey. I think it's too good of a project for them because I'm calling him a project because he can play any place in the defensive secondary. He's got to be a cornerback. He's long, he's lengthy, he's fast, he's a track guy. But the thing I love about him, he's physical. You don't find that many physical defensive backs that'll come up and hit you and knock your lights out. Now, everybody's talking about, well, he doesn't have the production, he doesn't have the interceptions. You want to know why? People don't throw at him. That's the key. He doesn't have the production and interceptions because no one.
What did I say? What did I say before?
You didn't say that.
I didn't sit there and say that people weren't throwing at him.
I didn't hear that, but that's okay.
He did. You did. did.
But his career, and I say
You
project,
did.
everybody goes, wait a minute, project. Well, he could be a safety. He could be a corner. You could probably use him as a weak side linebacker because he's 6'1", 210. He can run. He can fly. He can do some of those things. He's the type of player that you can move around on your defense and have him as your playmaker. But he's going to be a starting cornerback in the NFL because he's the best cornerback in this draft.
Let me start some trouble here.
Okay.
If a miracle happened, San Diego was stupid enough, and they passed on them, and the Dallas Cowboys at number 4 had a choice between Joey Bosa or somebody else and Jalen Ramsey, I think they should take Jalen Ramsey. Where are you at?
I think they should take Shaq Lawson or DeForest Buckner or probably Jalen Ramsey. I'm not really big on Joey Bosa. If you look at his production, 7.5 sacks as a freshman, 13.5 as a sophomore, 5 last year. He's a great hands player, a little bit undersized. He's going to find out when you get to see the big boys, guess what we do up there? See these big ham hocks? We hold up there. That's what they don't get away with in college. So he's going to struggle at the next level because he's not that big. And he's going to get big, long arm offensive tackles. He's going to struggle a little bit. He doesn't have a lot of speed off the edge. You saw his 40 time. That 40 time doesn't equate to NFL defensive ends and speed rushers. It really doesn't. So when you get a Shaq Lawson that can get up there or a long arm, DeForest Buckner, that can be physical on the inside that's long enough to be on the outside as a defensive end and cause havoc with long arms and knock down passes, I'd rather have that. And the other thing is a character issue on Joey Bosa. You already have enough character issues at defensive end with the Dallas Cowboys.
How about that?
Do you really want another one?
Now, what was his character issue at Ohio
He got
State?
suspended for the first game. There's
Right.
a lot of rumors on why. Nobody will say why, but he was suspended for a reason, but they won't tell us why.
Got it.
I've heard lots of probably the same rumors you have. They concern me. The 40 time concerns me a little bit, but when I watched him, and I watched him a lot, when he dropped into coverage occasionally, he can cover. He's got the innate sort of instincts to cover. He sees the ball well. And I guess you're disagreeing strongly with our Mel Kiper, who has Joey Bosa as of this morning, number 2 on his overall board behind Tunsil, right? You're saying that Mel is basically flat out wrong with number 2.
I just agree the way the draft's going to be set up and the players that are going to be picked. You can have your best players on your list. It doesn't mean according to that list that's where they're going to be drafted because of team needs. Now, wants are one thing, needs are another thing. The Cowboys need defensive ends.
They do.
And I think
What about cornerbacks?
They need a quarterback, but they've got a starting quarterback. They can get a backup quarterback.
Cornerback.
Oh, cornerback. Yes, they can have a cornerback. They need defensive ends more than cornerbacks. They don't have a defensive end. Tell me a defensive end on the Cowboys. Tell me somebody that can get to the quarterback on that whole defensive line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the first 4 games of the season in September, who's going to rush the quarterback?
I don't know.
You've got to have somebody to rush the quarterback before you can have somebody cover somebody in the secondary.
That's why I would take Joey Bosa. Now back to Jalen Ramsey. Do you consider him a Deion Sanders? Is he in the same league, category, echelon, galaxy with Deion?
That's what they say at Florida State, that they equate him to Deion Sanders. But there's nobody as good as Prime.
Thank you.
When a guy can just show up and throw on somebody else's sneakers and run a 4.240, are you kidding me? And this is a track guy. Jalen's a track guy, but he runs a 4.4 and change. Deion was just spectacular. And not only that, he was a playmaker.
Jalen's more of a long jumper, though, in track, as opposed to being a sprinter. I got to tell you, I watched Jalen Ramsey a lot. He is a special player for the reason you brought up. He will hit anything that moves. In fact, he has linebacker in him, which is why at the next level, ultimately, he's going to wind up at safety because he can strike a blow. He could play inside the box. He could play the run and the pass. But as far as ball skills go, I got to tell you, there are a lot of times I would see him around the ball, and he just didn't find it and make that play. And you know and I know, even though you're an offensive lineman, there are some guys who have a knack. Coach Herman Edwards, that we've had on the show, he just had this God-given knack, see ball, get ball. Jalen Ramsey, I didn't see it. He had 3 interceptions in 3 years. Deion played all 4 years, but he had 14 picks, and he took 3 to the house because that's what Deion does and did. And I'm not sure. I'm not saying Jalen Ramsey's. I'm picking nits here, but Joey Bosa is high motor. Now you'll laugh and say, yeah, at the next level we eat high motors, right? We suffocate high motors.
Love to
right?
get him up there.
Yeah, right, right, okay. So, but I never saw 2 people able to block Joey Bosa in college football, and I love that. And you crossed Randy White's path,
yes.
right?
Oh, yes, lots of
he
times.
reminds me a little bit of
We still
Randy
don't talk
White.
today.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. But I see a little bit of Randy White in Joey Bosa in that, and I knew Randy very well. Not exactly stable, you know, like in a good way, like a little crazy, but crazy, out of control, unblockable to me when it was game time. I see some of that in Joey Bosa. I'm not saying he's Randy White because that's Hall of Fame, as are you, but still. I think he plays big on the next level.
He does, but you have to look at the level of competition he played against, particularly in the big games. He kind of got lost. In their biggest games, he was lost. You didn't see his name called. In the smaller games against the Western Michigans and teams like that, that's when he was steamrolling over 2 blockers. But that doesn't equate to the NFL. And I look at him, and you compare him to Randy White. Randy White was in the middle. He was on the inside. He was over the guards.
Yeah.
Joey, most of the time, is on the outside. He'll go inside every once in a while. He's not big enough to stay inside full time because he's not big enough. He can't hold up against 310-pound guards.
Take the off-the-field transgressions, concerns, etc. I know there's been some concerns about his motor, and I'll give you that. But talent-wise, I loved Kimdichie. You and I were talking about it on a Sunday morning after the Bama game. I was like, this brother right here. I mean, I wasn't thinking about no Joey Bosa when it came to this guy. So I think about Shaq Lawson, but I think about this guy, Kimdichie. Talk to me about him.
If somebody takes him and the right team takes Robert Kimdichie, he's a guy that's 6'4", 295, and he blew away all the numbers at the Combine because he's such a great athlete. When he's on his game and his pilot light's lit, he could be the steal of this draft. If he falls down to where the Arizona Cardinals picks him, he gets a Bruce Arians, a guy that can light your pilot light and keep it lit, he could be an all-pro player for a long time, but it all depends where he goes. And plus, he needs that locker room. He needs a strong locker room where you've got the Patrick Petersons, the Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh, that means he can't go to Dallas. He can't go to Dallas. He can't
he's got to go someplace like that. He's got to go someplace that has strong locker room leadership. And if he goes to Arizona, he'll be an all-pro player. I predict if he stays healthy and he goes there, he's that type of talent. But he's got to go someplace where somebody's got to harness that talent and put him in the right direction and steer him in the right direction and make sure he does all the little things right, particularly off the field, not only on the field.
By the way, he'd fit right in Dallas. What are you talking about?
Stop the nonsense. Skip, may I veer right here? Because this guy, highly intellectual individual, knows his football, knows a lot about life. I'm sorry to bring this up, but I can't help it. Skip Bayless and I have been arguing about Tom Brady for a little while.
Well, we're really going left.
That's right. And I'm bringing that up because I wanted to hear your thoughts, my mentality. I'm not talking about the whole Deflategate issue, but when you bring up character, Bruce Arians, and that locker room and what it means, etc., I'm thinking along the lines, if you're a guy like Tom Brady, with what you've been accused of, knowing the power that the league has, ultimately, put on your big boy pants and just eat it and move forward.
Right. Grow up. Be a man. Guess what? Stop wasting the
Did you guys confer? Did you talk before the show?
And this is what I said before.
Oh,
stop wasting the other players in the league's money for your defense by the lawyers, by the NFLPA. Because that's not just your money. That's all the other players in the league's money also. Guess what? You made a mistake. Man up. Say you did it. Take your 4 games.
Wait, he made a mistake. How do you know he made a mistake?
You know he made a mistake. They never fumbled the ball. They fumbled the ball, what, 30 times in 6 years? And everybody else in the NFL
what happened after
averaged like 120.
What happened after
the ball's deflated.
He got even better. They got even better with legally inflated footballs, quote unquote.
Well, he's saying that, but when the footballs were deflated, that
how do you know they were deflated? Whoever
what did he just
that?
say? What did he just say?
You didn't mince words.
Why did he destroy his telephone, his cell phone, and all the information?
He did not destroy his cell phone. The NFLPA told him it will never be legal for them to touch your cell phone, and he changed right on schedule
and
the way he
all
always
text
changed.
messages and everything was deleted.
Okay, wait a second. Wait a second.
Wait
a second. Jastrzemski's cell phone, they had all the texts from Tom Brady. Why didn't that incriminate? Because there was nothing incriminating in there.
Well,
right?
Well, we haven't seen all of Tom Brady's messages, have we?
They gave us reams of email, all kinds of electronic data.
Gentlemen.
I just had to ask.
Let's stay on topic. We have to go to break. We don't have time.
Okay, one thing real quick I'll have to say is I learned one thing from Jack Ken Cook a long time ago. It's not the golden rule. It's the man with the gold that makes the rule. And Robert Goodell has the gold.
Roger Goodell has the gold.
I like
the man with the gold makes the rule. Not the golden rule. The man with the gold makes the rule.
Wow, I've lost so much respect for Mark.
Mark, so appreciate
Gave
you.
you this big set.
Wonderful insight. Always a class act. Great to have you. All right. After leading the Warriors to an NBA record 73 wins this season, Steve Kerr was named Coach of the Year. Kerr missed the first 43 games of the season because of complications from 2 back surgeries. During this time, Golden State got off to a 39-4 record under Luke Walton. Golden State was 34-5 under Kerr. So, Stephen A., because of that, does he deserve this award?
No, he does not. And I want to make sure that I'm very, very clear, because I think that sometimes, Skip, there's a level of confusion. I am somebody who believes Mark Jackson should not have lost his job, but the Warriors ownership, I profoundly respect them. I have a good relationship with Jay Lacob, and he's a good man. He watches the show every chance he gets, and I am incredibly fond of Steve Kerr. He's a good man. He's a damn good coach. He's worthy in terms of his qualifications and what he brings to the table. My only resistance to the Coach of the Year is that he didn't coach the first 43 games. I don't believe somebody who coaches 39 games out of 82 should get the Coach of the Year job. I know he was helping Luke Walton along the way. I get all of that.
Especially at the home games.
Exactly.
I
totally understand.
Yep.
But he wasn't on the bench for the first 43 games. And I don't believe that you coaching half the season, you should get Coach of the Year honors, regardless of how great this team was. I don't believe it. I thought Greg Popovich was outstanding this year. I thought Brad Stevens was outstanding this year. I thought Dave Yeager with 28 different different players he played this year with rife with a bunch of no names. I thought he did a great job. I thought it could have gone to any of those guys before it went to Steve Kerr. But it's only because he only coached half the season. That's it.
Typically, these things go to him. By the way, who finished second, you didn't mention, was Terry Stotts.
Yes, and
Portland,
he deserves a lot.
He lost four starters.
That's right.
And then
I forgot to mention. I apologize.
That's okay.
I apologize. Terry Stotts deserves that too.
And they're usually the kind of guy. That's who gets Coach of the Year.
Yes.
I think there's some sympathy vote involved here because of what Steve Kerr, it was life-threatening what he went through post-back surgery with the spinal fluid leak, and he's talked about it.
And all of us wish nothing but great health.
I got it, but I think maybe it's not sympathy, it's just degree of difficulty in him fighting back to then regain and reassume the mantle as the coach of the best team in basketball and to lead them to 73 wins. I get it where people finally said, well, Terry Stotts was really good, but was he great? And Pop is never going to get Coach of the Year because he's Pop. He's too good to be Coach of the Year. That's usually how it happens with a Belichick type, where they're just disqualified from getting Coach of the Year, right?
Yep.
So I don't have a huge problem with it, but typically it would have gone to a Terry Stotts.
I don't have a problem with it at all. I'm just saying that I'm not one who believes he deserved it because he only coached 39 games. It's just that simple. I know that based on the job he did last year, based on the run they made with him on the bench this year, his qualifications are impeccable. They speak for themselves. He's a 5-time champion as a player. He's a 1-time champion as a coach. He's proven himself. I'm happy for Steve Kerr. He's a good man. But he only coached 39 games, and I don't think that usurps Terry Stotts, Greg Popovich, Dave Yeager, or Brad Stevens.
And I do appreciate the fact that you're still a little raw over what happened to Mark Jackson pre-Steve.
But not about it. Steve Kerr has nothing to do with that.
I got it. Yes.
All right, we'll leave it there. Jake Arrieta takes the mound for the first time since no-hitting the Reds on Thursday night, which was his second no-hitter in his last 11 regular season starts. So instead of talking about his remarkable stretch of starts, he's being asked about using PEDs. And here's what he had to say. It's somewhat flattering, especially when some of those comments are coming from some of the best players in the game. I think it's funny. I've always been in good shape. I just sucked early in my career from a statistical perspective. My body has always been very similar to how it is now. The results are different. So people want to question things. That's the nature of sports. Stephen A. Smith, fair or foul to suspect Arrieta of using PEDs?
I believe in this great country of ours. I believe in innocent until proven guilty. But it doesn't mean that I'm not allowed to raise the figurative eyebrow, if not the literal eyebrow, and say, there are certain things that make you say, what's up? I'm looking at Arrieta here. First of all, I don't find accusations of PED use funny at all. I don't think it's something that he should say he finds funny. But that doesn't mean he's guilty. But I will say this. Skip Bayless, I'm looking at this guy, 4-0 this year, a 0.87 ERA. But you know what I'm paying attention to? How deep he goes into games, how his arm never gets tired, and how innings pitched over the last 2 years, 156, and last year 229. Before then, for 3 years before then, Skip, he pitched 75 innings, 23.2, and has only started 3 games at that time. And then, of course, you had 51.2 innings. In 2012, if I remember correctly, he got demoted to AAA by the Orioles. And then suddenly, here you come, and you're pitching these innings. You look absolutely stout. You never had more than 10 wins in your career. Last year, you go 22-6 with an ERA of 1.77. This year, you're undefeated. You pitched another no-hitter. You got an ERA under 1. You've already pitched 31 innings. I'm just looking at it, and I'm saying to myself, all right, I'm not going to accuse you of using performance-enhancing supplements, drugs, whatever you want to call it. But I will say that you shouldn't just be laughing at those who are looking at you and saying, excuse me, what the hell is going on here? Because it's not like they haven't seen performance-enhancing drug users before. They kind of know what they're looking at. So, again, I'm not accusing them. I have no clue.
Yep.
We don't have any clue. But it does raise suspicion when you see the absence of fatigue and the fact that his arm doesn't really seem to get tired because he pitches so late in the games. That's uncommon.
I don't have any clue either about his PED use or lack thereof. I also have no sympathy for him because he's a victim of the recent steroid past of the game of baseball.
Okay.
He's a victim of those who came before him and adamantly shook their fingers at us and said, no, I have never, ever. Rafael Palmeiro, Ryan Braun. Dare I get into A-Rod? I can go on and on and on. We have all been taught to be suspicious, to remain vigilant, especially when somebody comes out of nowhere. And Jake Arrieta came out of nowhere. He was a former 5th-round pick of the Baltimore Orioles. Now, he did get a large 5th-round. It was the largest bonus ever for a 5th-round pick, $1.1 million. But then he toiled in minor league obscurity for Baltimore for almost 4 years. You realize the Orioles didn't just send him down once. They sent him down 5 times, up and down to the minors.
That's
5
right.
times. Cubs acquired him for Scott Feldman, journeyman starting pitcher, and they sent him down to AAA, did the Chicago Cubs. So I look at the top of the line pitchers that we have right now, like Agrinky was the 6th pick in the draft. Kershaw was the 7th pick in the draft. Scherzer was the 11th pick in the draft. They didn't come from nowhere. They were good right from the start, right out of the box. Jake Arrieta comes to Chicago. Listen to these numbers of in his last 24 starts, he's 20-1 with an 0.86 ERA. That's off the charts.
Exactly.
And then what happens? At 6'4", 225 pounds, I watched him after the no-hitter the other day. He does an on-field interview in a tank top. The man is ripped, man. He is a weight room fanatic. Good for him. I'm not saying he has any help, but that all screams, wow, you know, like suspicion, right? Because we've been fooled so many times before that, and again, I have no idea, but the whole sport lends itself to suspicion because of what has happened.
Not just that, Skip, is that you can be as ripped as you want to. When you throw in balls in excess of 90 miles an hour on a consistent basis, and we never see arm fatigue, that is a red flag.
Breakdown? No.
That is
I
a
agree.
red flag.
And
in the age of Tommy John surgeries all over the place,
hey,
they just did an article about the spike in Tommy John surgeries in recent years.
God bless him because he is so dominant right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a second straight no-hitter for the second time in history at Wrigley tonight.
But to you, Stephen A. saying a little cause to pause there, right?
Yes.
Coming up, Jake Arrieta takes the mound for the first time since no-hitting the Reds on Thursday night, which was his second no-hitter in his last 11 regular season starts. So instead of talking about his remarkable stretch of starts, he's being asked about using PEDs. And here's what he had to say. It's somewhat flattering, especially when some of those comments are coming from some of the best players in the game. I think it's funny. I've always been in good shape. I just sucked early in my career from a statistical perspective. My body has always been very similar to how it is now. The results are different. So people want to question things. That's the nature of sports, Stephen A. Smith. Fair or foul to suspect Arrieta of using PEDs?
I believe in this great country of ours. I believe in innocent until proven guilty. But it doesn't mean that I'm not allowed to raise the figurative eyebrow, if not the literal eyebrow, and say, there are certain things that make you say, what's up? I'm looking at Arrieta here. First of all, I don't find accusations of PED use funny at all. I don't think it's something that he should say he finds funny. But that doesn't mean he's guilty. But I will say this. Skip Bayless, I'm looking at this guy 4-0 this year, a 0.87 ERA. But you know what I'm paying attention to? How deep he goes into games, how his arm never gets tired, and how innings pitched over the last 2 years, 156, and last year 229. Before then, for 3 years before then, Skip, he pitched 75 innings, 23.2, and he's only started 3 games at that time. And then, of course, you had 51.2 innings. In 2012, if I remember correctly, he got demoted to AAA by the Orioles. And then suddenly, here you come, and you're pitching these innings. You look absolutely stout. You never had more than 10 wins in your career. Last year, you go 22-6 with an ERA of 1.77. This year, you're undefeated. You pitched another no-hitter. You got an ERA under 1. You've already pitched 31 innings. I'm just looking at it, and I'm saying to myself, all right, I'm not going to accuse you of using performance-enhancing supplements, drugs, whatever you want to call it, but I will say that you shouldn't just be laughing at those who are looking at you and saying, excuse me, what the hell is going on here? Because it's not like they haven't seen performance-enhancing drug users before. They kind of know what they're looking at. So, again, I'm not accusing them. I have no clue.
Yep.
We don't have any clue. But it does raise suspicion when you see the absence of fatigue and the fact that his arm doesn't really seem to get tired because he pitches so late in the games. That's uncommon.
I don't have any clue either about his PED use or lack thereof. I also have no sympathy for him because he's a victim of the recent steroid past of the game of baseball.
Okay.
He's a victim of those who came before him and adamantly shook their fingers at us and said, no, I have never, ever. Rafael Palmeiro, Ryan Braun. Dare I get into A-Rod? I can go on and on and on. We have all been taught to be suspicious, to remain vigilant, especially when somebody comes out of nowhere. And Jake Arrieta came out of nowhere. He was a former 5th-round pick of the Baltimore Orioles. Now, he did get a large 5th-round. I think it was the largest bonus ever for a 5th-round pick, $1.1 million. But then he toiled in minor league obscurity for Baltimore for almost 4 years. You realize the Orioles didn't just send him down once. They sent him down 5 times, up and down to the minors. That's 5 times. Cubs acquired him for Scott Feldman, journeyman starting pitcher, and they sent him down to AAA, did the Chicago Cubs. So I look at the top of the line pitchers that we have right now. Like Agrinky was the 6th pick in the draft. Kershaw was the 7th pick in the draft. Scherzer was the 11th pick in the draft. They didn't come from nowhere. They were good right from the start, right out of the box. Jake Arrieta comes to Chicago. Listen to these numbers of in his last 24 starts, he's 20-1 with an 0.86 ERA. That's off the charts. Exactly. And then what happens? At 6'4", 225 pounds, I watched him after the no-hitter the other day. He does an on-field interview in a tank top. The man is ripped, man. He is a weight room fanatic. Good for him. I'm not saying he has any help, but that all screams, wow, you know, like suspicion, right? Because we've been fooled so many times before that, and again, I have no idea, but the whole sport lends itself to suspicion because of what has happened.
Not just that, Skip, is that you can be as ripped as you want to. When you throw in balls in excess of 90 miles an hour on a consistent basis, and we never see arm fatigue, that is a red flag.
Breakdown? No.
That is a red flag.
And
in the age of Tommy John surgeries all over the place,
hey,
they just did an article about the spike in Tommy John surgeries.
God bless him because he is so dominant right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a second straight no-hitter for the 2nd time in history at Wrigley tonight.
But to you, Stephen A. saying a little cause to pause there, right?
Yes.
Coming up. After leading the Warriors to an NBA record 73 wins this season, Steve Kerr was named Coach of the Year. Kerr missed the first 43 games of the season because of complications from 2 back surgeries. During this time, Golden State got off to a 39-4 record under Luke Walton. Golden State was 34-5 under Kerr. So, Stephen A., because of that, does he deserve this award?
No, he does not. And I want to make sure that I'm very, very clear, because I think that sometimes, Skip, there's a level of confusion. I am somebody who believes Mark Jackson should not have lost his job. But the Warriors ownership, I profoundly respect them. I have a good relationship with Jay Lacob, and he's a good man. He watches the show every chance he gets. And I am incredibly fond of Steve Kerr. He's a good man. He's a damn good coach. He's worthy in terms of his qualifications and what he brings to the table. My only resistance to the Coach of the Year is that he didn't coach the first 43 games. I don't believe somebody who coaches 39 games out of 82 should get the Coach of the Year job. I know he was helping Luke Walton along the way. I get all of that.
The home games.
Exactly. I totally understand.
Yep.
But he wasn't on the bench for the first 43 games. And I don't believe that you coaching half the season, you should get Coach of the Year honors, regardless of how great this team was. I don't believe it. I thought Greg Popovich was outstanding this year. I thought Brad Stevens was outstanding this year. I thought Dave Yeager, with 28 different different players he played this year, with rife with a bunch of no names. I thought he did a great job. I thought it could have gone to any of those guys before it went to Steve Kerr. But it's only because he only coached half the season. That's it.
Typically, these things go to him. By the way, who finished second, you didn't mention, was Terry Stotts.
Yes, and
Portland,
he deserves a lot.
He lost four starters.
That's right.
And
I forgot to mention. I apologize.
That's okay.
I apologize. Terry Stotts deserves that too.
And they're usually the kind of guy. That's who gets Coach of the Year.
Yes.
I think there's some sympathy vote involved here because of what Steve Kerr, it was life-threatening what he went through post-back surgery with the spinal fluid leak, and he's talked about it.
And all of us wish nothing but great health.
I got it, but I think maybe it's not sympathy, it's just degree of difficulty in him fighting back to then regain and reassume the mantle as the coach of the best team in basketball and to lead them to 73 wins. I get it where people finally said, well, Terry Stotts was really good, but was he great? And Pop is never going to get Coach of the Year because he's Pop. He's too good to be Coach of the Year. That's usually how it happens with a Belichick type, where they're just disqualified from getting Coach of the Year, right?
Yep.
So I don't have a huge problem with it, but typically it would have gone to a Terry Stotts.
I don't have a problem with it at all. I'm just saying that I'm not one who believes he deserved it because he only coached 39 games. It's just that simple. I know that based on the job he did last year, based on the run they made with him on the bench this year, his qualifications are impeccable. They speak for themselves. He's a five-time champion as a player. He's a one-time champion as a coach. He's proven himself. I'm happy for Steve Kerr. He's a good man. But he only coached 39 games, and I don't think that usurps Terry Stotts, Greg Popovich, Dave Yeager, or Brad Stevens.
And I do appreciate the fact that you're still a little raw over what happened to Mark Jackson pre-Steve.
But not about it. Steve Kerr has nothing to do with that.
I got it. Yes.
All right, we'll leave it there. First Take will not be in Chicago for the NFL Draft, but we still got you covered here in Bristol with all our hot topics in studio. And to the fans in Chi-Town, we hope to see you again during a future roadshow. All right, moving on. 2 days after Tom Brady's 4-game suspension was reinstated, two NFL owners told Bleacher Report's Jason Cole that his suspension is too harsh. And after talking with other owners, they agreed that a 1 or 2 game suspension is more reasonable. Drew Brees was on the Dan Patrick Show, and he voices his displeasure with the current system.
Forget the issue that's at hand here with, Deflategate or whatever you want to call it. I think this is an issue, again, with the fact that the commissioner's control and authority was challenged. And, the league is going to do whatever they can to make sure that people know that he is in this position to basically make these types of unilateral decisions, and there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Stephen A., have you gained any sympathy for Psycho Tom?
Hell no. Look.
Hell no?
Hell no. No.
How do you stop the hell no?
I don't. You know what makes me laugh about this? It's just amazing. Tom Brady, GQ Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Tom Brady with the supermodel wife. Tom Brady, the multimillionaire. Tom Brady, the 4-time Super Bowl champion. Tom Brady, who played for the team, convicted of Spygate. Tom Brady, involved with the team, involved with Deflategate. Tom Brady, we going to feel sorry for Tom Brady? Let me tell you why I don't feel sorry for Tom Brady. Because Tom Brady is pointing his ire in the wrong direction. The direction that the ire needs to be pointed in is that of the Players Association. And I know guys in there, and I like them a great, great deal. And I'm not trying to cast any aspersions. I understand you can only do but so much when you're negotiating. You're going to get some, you're going to give some. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. So I'm not denigrating them in any way. But there needs to be an elevated level of understanding when it comes to what transpired. The NFL has the power because it was negotiated in the collective bargaining agreement. If you didn't like it, hold out and do everything you can to keep the commissioner from having the power. Drew Brees is a highly intelligent individual. He knows this. So you can lament all you want about the power that the league has. You know what? There are things in my contract. There are things in your contract. There are things in your contract we might not like. We prefer that they were not there. But guess what? We had to give some, we had to lose some. That's the way that it goes. You know, and Tom Brady needs to listen to Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers, one of the great country singers of all time. You can appreciate that.
I'm not a
got to know
fan.
when to hold.
You are.
He only likes hardcore rap.
Know when to walk away.
Don't say it.
I'm not gonna sing. I'm sorry. I forgot. I'm sorry.
It was beautiful, though.
He didn't sing it.
I didn't sing it,
He
Kenny.
tried.
I didn't sing it. Well, I got it from the Geico commercials, too. I got it from the Geico commercials.
Okay.
But the point that I'm trying to make to you is this. When you look at all of those things, let's understand something here. You are the owners. Listen to what we're talking about. There's nothing that says that Tom Brady can't accept the 4-game suspension, and then Roger Goodell turns around and reduces it to 2. Roger Goodell's main mission is making sure that the fight comes to an end and that you're willing to accept whatever punishment is going to be handed down because it's within his authority and within his discretion to hand that. Once that is unchallenged, then you can have a conversation. Because Roger Goodell may very well sit up there and say, I don't want to see Jimmy G, as in Jimmy Garoppolo, quarterbacking for New England on a Sunday any more than you guys do. So guess what? I may very well reduce it to 2 games or 1 game because those same owners, instead of talking to the media, those same owners, instead of listening to the Drew Brees of the world, may actually come to me, Roger Goodell, and say, all right, case is closed. Now, exercise discretion and let's lower this penalty. But the first order of business is to make sure that their authority isn't challenged. I'm disappointed in Drew Brees because Drew Brees, who I love, is not being as real and as authentic as I know him to be in terms of looking at the big picture. He's being real because he still has animus towards Roger Goodell for obvious reasons with whole Bountygate, which he's right to feel that way, by the way. Drew Brees is not wrong. But the point is, those owners, for example, what if one of their subordinates tried to muscle them and make them do something? What would their reaction be? First things first, accept the penalty. Put on your big boy pants. Nobody's asking Tom Brady to admit guilt, even though Roger Goodell has. But in the end, put on your big boy pants and accept the fact you are not the commissioner. You're just a damn quarterback. As great as he is, I'm going to say it again. You're just a damn quarterback. You ain't
just.
That's all he is. He's a quarterback. He's one of many players. He's better than most. He's one of the great ones.
Better than most?
He's better
How about
than most.
better than all?
He's better than most. He's one of the great ones all time. Or he's one of the great ones of all time, but he's just a damn quarterback. You're not bigger than the Shield. Know your place, humble yourself, and then we can talk.
Okay, before I launch on this, before I unleash on about 7 of your points,
whatever,
I'm going to give you one and only 1 point. You are so correct. In the 11th hour, the NFL Players Association caved in that fateful night when we all wanted our football back. Remember that? Yep. In August, we said, gee, it's not going to be the same. How many games we're going to miss? And they caved in and said, okay, just give us X amount of money. We'll give you your authority, your power, your absolute power.
Right.
But I think you would agree that there are spirits of contracts, of clauses in contracts. There's a spirit of the clause where there are some boundaries to the abuse of that power. And I'm going to point out again, the chief judge who ruled pro-Brady of the 3 judges who ruled the other day in the appellate court, the Chief Judge Katzmann, ridiculed Roger Goodell's abuse of power. He skewered it. He called it, industrial justice, and one of the other judges who ruled for the NFL called it draconian in the penalty. Even you would say that was an absurdly harsh penalty for what was alleged to have been committed. Am I right about that?
Absolutely.
4 games?
Absolutely. But my point is that where I jump off the wagon with you, my man Adam Shine, and so many other guys talking football is that I don't believe the 4-game penalty was for Deflategate per se, meaning deflated footballs. I believe it was for lack of cooperation in whatever fashion that they deemed necessary. They believed that Tom Brady was a bit evasive. They believed that he was impeding their investigation to some degree, and he was somewhat uncooperative. So they wanted to send a message that you don't get away with doing that. That is entirely different than, okay, the deflated footballs, it speaks to the integrity of the game, and we're going to hand you a 4-game suspension.
Now, fair enough. But back to Molly's question, do you have any new sympathy for Tom Brady's plight here? And you say, hell no. Okay. I'm sensing...
I like the way you said it, too.
Yeah, I know.
But go ahead.
I am sensing that the public pendulum is starting to swing back toward Tom Brady here. I remind you, when he was introduced with all the former Super Bowl MVPs at a Super Bowl that was played in his backyard, in his home area, right? In the Bay Area?
The Bay Area, yep.
He was roundly booed. Now, maybe that was because so many Broncos fans were there and they just don't like Brady because he's an arch rival. But he was roundly booed, and he took it to heart by all accounts. Several people close to him and said he really did not like it. And the point is that I think some people, even the Brady haters, are starting to see what Goodell was up to, that he did choose to sacrifice maybe the all-time greatest quarterback legacy of a quarterback who was then 38 years of age a year ago, just to get even with the Patriots for their history of cheating. You laughed at the word I used, but I believe they framed Tom Brady to get even with the Patriots. I believe that they deemed his career, his legacy, expendable just to get even with the history of cheating. And that is so outrageous that they would choose to do that. And I think some people are starting to see through that. This isn't scientific, but I'm getting the vibrations that all of a sudden there is some sympathy building for Tom Brady. Now, let me finish with this last point. The sympathy would lead to, let's reduce from 4 to 2 games. And according to the report, maybe some owners are saying, let's make it 2 games. That is such an insult to Tom Brady, who has worn the biggest boy pants in the league for the last 2 years, because he is going to fight this to the death. He doesn't want to accept 2 games. I believe he could have accepted 2 games a year ago on this. But he said, no, I am 1,000% innocent, so I'm going to fight it to the bitter end. And if it takes Supreme Court, which he probably can't get to, he would go to the Supreme Court with this. He doesn't want 2 games because he doesn't want 4 games. He wants no games.
Yes, you've mentioned that on several occasions. Feeling the vibrations is very touching. I will say this to you.
I was thinking.
Let me say this to you, Skip Bayless. You know, it's very, very interesting, and I'm certainly not comparing the two. But I want y'all to stay with me on this because I'm very serious. But I'm not. Obviously, there's no comparison between the two. You know, once upon a time in the '90s, there was a guy by O.J. Simpson that obviously, you know, was indicted, double murder charges, stuff like that. One of the things that we pointed out as a society, whether it be black, white, Hispanic, whatever the case may be, even though people had their opinions about what happened or what did happen based on the evidence being disseminated to us, one of the things that we consistently looked at was O.J.'s body language, O.J.'s demeanor. Does a guilty person act like this? Does a guilty person convey themselves like that or whatever? Now, obviously, that's an extreme case because we're talking, and we're certainly not talking about that when it comes to the great Tom Brady, who's a good man. But here's what I'm saying to you. We have, since that time, everything we do, no matter what incident a player gets in, we pay attention to their presentation, we pay attention to the delivery, we pay attention to how they come across to the masses. When Deflategate was en route, when we knew we were investigating this matter, when Tom Brady had to get up before the podium and speak, we sat right here, and even you lamented how he came across, how he handled himself, people who are innocent don't seem like that, don't look like that, don't sound like that. And then you try to explain it away because you're talking about he's not accustomed to being up there. Even though he's a quarterback, he talks every Wednesday. You know, he's not accustomed to doing it.
He gives the media nothing.
I understand.
Nothing.
But let me finish.
Okay.
I'm glad you went there because he's accustomed to giving nothing because it's the Patriot way. And what Roger Goodell and the league office is saying, we ain't the damn media. And by the way, we ain't the Patriots either. We're the governing body who oversees the Patriots. So when you are so insulated and ingrained in this culture and their way of doing things to a point that is clearly detriment to your own self, you don't get to then engage in revisionist history, piggyback off of everything and say, well, you know what, I was really innocent, but blah, blah, blah. You had your opportunity to defend yourself with Roger Goodell.
He did.
But what you did was you decided that I'm going to go the route of lawyers and beyond, and I'm going to fight you to the hilt when Roger Goodell was simply saying to you, excuse me, now you're challenging my discretion, which is why the collective bargaining agreement and everything else comes into play, which is why Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and everybody else should be looking at the Players Association and their attorneys, not the commissioner and the National Football League. The commissioner and the National Football League is simply making the case, we are the ultimate power. Don't you forget it. And I have no problem with that.
The ultimate abusive power.
Well, sometimes
out
it is.
of control
Listen.
power.
It's not the first time a commissioner has abused power or has made a ruling that seems absolutely egregious. It's happened in all sports. It's happened with David Stern. It happened with Gary Bettman. It's happened with Bud Selig in some people's eyes. It happens. That's what I mean by saying put on your big boy pants. It happens. Deal with it. Why the hell should you be immune to it? Nobody else is.
Can't fight City Hall.
Tell him. Look at the camera and tell Tom Brady you can't fight City Hall.
I'll do that. Can I have it, please?
You can't fight City Hall.
Camera. We're going to break. Fight City Hall. Tom, you beat him once, you beat him again. Thank you.
See what I'm saying?
Can't we just feel the vibrations, the good vibrations? Come on, guys. Good morning. Welcome to First Take. And guys, before we get into today's topic, there is a show change coming that we need to share with our First Take family. Skip will be leaving First Take when the NBA Finals conclude. And I hate to speak for Stephen A., but we have truly loved working with you. And Skip, on a personal note, I appreciate the way you've helped me grow in the host chair here. And I will truly miss you sitting to my left and making me laugh every morning.
Thank you, Molly. I would hug you, but I think you're tethered to the chair
I'm
there.
attached to the chair.
And I don't think Ernestine would love it if I hugged you. But I do want to thank the many people who responded via social media yesterday. Much love, even to the haters. But most of all, I want to thank this man sitting across from me for all he has done for me. And I'm going to shake his hand, and I'm going to tell him what I told him off the air last Friday. I love you, man, and that is from the bottom of my heart.
I love you back, bro. And it's a great opportunity for you. I know it. I know you deserve it. And I've often said this on many occasions, and I'll repeat it one last time. One of the greatest honors of my career was when you called and asked me to do this show. You know me, I ain't interested in getting up in the morning. I ain't interested.
That is a fact, and that includes this morning.
That's right.
Yeah.
I am not interested in getting up this early in the morning. It is not what I like to do. But you asked me to do it because you had a vision, and you saw what this show could be with the two of us. And you made it happen, and you will forever be synonymous with First Take, my man. I am happy for you. You know that. And I wish you nothing but the best. We're going to have a party for the next few weeks while we're doing this. But you know, we're friends for life, and I wish you the best.
In my view, you and I had the greatest times of my career sitting right here across from each other at this debate table. Now, you're stuck with me for maybe a couple more months here, and you're going to have to watch my Spurs win it all.
Right.
You realize that with me sitting across from you.
Right. You know.
But now I say, let's do what we do.
Yes, let's do it. Time for you guys to get to work.